The National Electrical Code (NEC) stipulates specific requirements concerning electrical wiring near attic openings or scuttle holes. Article 312.4 B of the NEC mandates a clearance of at least 30 inches, or 2.5 feet, from the edge of any attic opening or scuttle hole. This clearance is designed to prevent accidental contact with live electrical components or wires that might be present in the attic space. The purpose is to ensure the safety of individuals who may be accessing or working in the attic, reducing the risk of electrical shock. The 30-inch clearance rule ensures a safe working space and reduces the likelihood of accidental contact. However, like many regulations, there are exceptions and local amendments to consider. In Wisconsin, Section 96.499 of the Wisconsin Administrative Code, which adopts the NEC but includes specific modifications, provides an exception to NEC Article 312.4. This exception permits electrical wiring to be run through or within the scuttle hole opening, provided that the wiring is properly enclosed in a raceway or conduit. This means that in Wisconsin, if the wiring is protected within a suitable enclosure, such as metal conduit or another approved raceway system, it can be positioned closer to the scuttle hole than the 30-inch clearance typically required by the NEC. It is important to note that the Wisconsin Administrative Code does have this one unique exception. Now, understanding the code is only part of the equation. Inspectors have the authority to enforce the building code, including the NEC, and their interpretations can sometimes vary. When it comes to scuttle holes, inspectors may sometimes flag installations where wires are run directly up to the edge of the scuttle hole, even if the wires are enclosed in a raceway or conduit. This discrepancy can arise from differing interpretations of the Wisconsin Administrative Code exception. Some inspectors may argue that the exception only applies to wiring that is directly passing through the scuttle hole, while others may adopt a broader interpretation that allows wiring to be run up to the edge of the scuttle hole, as long as it is contained within a raceway. It is always best to check in with the local authority having jurisdiction, ODJ, and verify how they are going to want it. So, what are some recommendations for contractors? To avoid potential conflicts with inspectors and ensure compliance with the code, contractors should consider adopting a more conservative approach. It is generally advisable to maintain a minimum clearance of 30 inches, or 2.5 feet, from the edge of the scuttle hole for all electrical wiring, regardless of whether a raceway is present or not. This conservative approach can help prevent misunderstandings or disagreements during inspections and ensure a safer electrical installation. Firstly, always consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code, as well as any local amendments or regulations that may apply in your specific jurisdiction. Secondly, clarify any ambiguous code requirements with the local electrical inspector or the authority having jurisdiction. Their interpretation and guidance are crucial for ensuring compliance. Thirdly, carefully plan your wiring layout to minimize the proximity of electrical wiring to scuttle holes or attic access points. If possible, reroute wiring to maintain the required clearance. Fourthly, when running wiring near scuttle holes is unavoidable, always use appropriate raceways or conduit to protect the wiring and reduce the risk of damage or accidental contact. Fifthly, properly secure and support all wiring and raceways to prevent sagging or displacement that could compromise the required clearance. Sixthly, thoroughly document all electrical installations, including wiring near scuttle holes, with detailed drawings or photographs. This documentation can be helpful during inspections or future maintenance activities. Seventhly, stay up to date on the latest changes and updates to the electrical code by attending training courses or workshops. Continuous education ensures that you are aware of any new requirements or interpretations that may affect your work. Eighthly, when in doubt, it is always best to err on the side of caution and maintain the 30-inch clearance from the scuttle hole. This approach minimizes the risk of code violations and ensures a safer electrical installation. Ninthly, ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the NEC and local codes. Proper training and experience are essential for safe and compliant electrical installations. Tenthly, prior to commencing any electrical work, conduct a thorough site assessment to identify potential hazards or challenges, such as limited space or difficult access. Addressing these issues proactively can help prevent problems during the installation process. By taking these steps, you can minimize the risk of code violations, ensure a safe electrical installation, and avoid potential conflicts with electrical inspectors. Remember that the primary goal of the NEC is to protect people and property from electrical hazards. Always prioritize safety and compliance in your electrical work. Additional resources include the Wisconsin Administrative Code, which you can find at the provided website. The NEC is available at the provided website as well. It is essential to understand the specific requirements and exceptions that apply in your jurisdiction to ensure compliance with the electrical code. Always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when necessary. The purpose of the NEC is to provide a standardized set of rules and guidelines for electrical installations, aiming to minimize the risk of electrical hazards and ensure the safety of people and property. However, due to variations in local conditions and regulatory frameworks, some jurisdictions may adopt the NEC with certain modifications or amendments. Wisconsin, for example, has its own administrative code that incorporates the NEC but also includes specific exceptions or additions tailored to the state's unique circumstances. These local amendments can sometimes create confusion or discrepancies in code interpretation, particularly when it comes to specific applications or installations. In the case of scuttle holes and electrical wiring, the Wisconsin Administrative Code provides an exception to the NEC general clearance requirement, allowing wiring to be run closer to the opening under certain conditions. This exception is based on the premise that if the wiring is adequately protected within a raceway or conduit, the risk of accidental contact or damage is reduced, thus justifying a deviation from the standard clearance rule. However, the interpretation of this exception can vary among electrical inspectors and contractors, leading to potential conflicts during inspections. Some inspectors may take a stricter view, arguing that the exception only applies when the wiring is directly passing through the scuttle hole, while others may adopt a more lenient interpretation, allowing wiring to be run up to the edge of the opening as long as it is properly enclosed. To avoid these conflicts, contractors should be aware of the potential for differing interpretations and proactively seek clarification from the local authority having jurisdiction. The AHA is typically the local electrical inspector or building department, and their guidance is crucial for ensuring compliance with the code. Before commencing any electrical work near scuttle holes, contractors should consult with the AHA to determine their specific interpretation of the Wisconsin Administrative Code exception and ensure that their proposed installation meets the required standards. In addition to seeking guidance from the AHA, contractors can also take steps to minimize the risk of code violations by adopting a more conservative approach to wiring installations near scuttle holes. This means maintaining the 30-inch clearance whenever possible, even if the wiring is enclosed in a raceway. By erring on the side of caution, contractors can avoid potential disagreements with inspectors and ensure a safer electrical installation. Furthermore, contractors should ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the NEC and local codes. Proper training and experience are essential for safe and compliant electrical installations. Electricians should also be aware of the potential hazards associated with working in attics, such as limited space, poor lighting, and the presence of insulation or other materials that can pose health risks. It is important to take appropriate safety precautions, such as wearing protective gear and using proper ventilation to minimize the risk of injury or illness. Ultimately, the goal of electrical codes and regulations is to protect people and property from electrical hazards. By understanding the code, seeking clarification from the AHA, adopting a conservative approach to wiring installations, and ensuring that all work is performed by qualified professionals, contractors can help ensure that electrical systems are safe, reliable, and compliant with the applicable standards. Remember, continuous education and staying up to date on the latest changes to the electrical code are essential for all electrical professionals. In addition to the NEC and the Wisconsin Administrative Code, there may be other local ordinances or regulations that apply to electrical installations in your area. Be sure to check with your local building department or electrical inspector to ensure that you are aware of all applicable requirements. Always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when necessary. Understanding the nuances of electrical codes, particularly when local amendments come into play, is crucial for electrical contractors. The differing interpretations between the NEC and the Wisconsin Administrative Code, specifically concerning wiring near scuttle holes, exemplify the complexities involved. It is imperative for contractors to navigate these complexities effectively to ensure compliance, avoid conflicts with inspectors, and, most importantly, maintain safety. The NEC provides a foundational set of standards for electrical installations, aiming to mitigate electrical hazards and protect people and property. However, recognizing that local conditions and regulatory frameworks may vary, jurisdictions like Wisconsin have the authority to adopt the NEC with specific modifications tailored to their unique needs. These modifications, as seen in Section 96.499 of the Wisconsin Administrative Code, can introduce exceptions or additions to the NEC requirement. In the context of scuttle holes, the Wisconsin exception allows for wiring to be run closer to the opening than the standard 30-inch clearance mandated by the NEC, provided that the wiring is adequately protected within a raceway or conduit. This exception is rooted in the belief that the raceway provides sufficient protection against accidental contact or damage, thereby justifying a deviation from the general clearance rule. However, the interpretation of this exception can vary, leading to potential disagreements between contractors and inspectors. Some inspectors may adopt a strict interpretation, limiting the exception to situations where the wiring is directly passing through the scuttle hole. Others may take a more lenient stance, allowing wiring to be run up to the edge of the opening as long as it is properly enclosed. To mitigate the risk of such disagreements, contractors should proactively seek clarification from the local authority having jurisdiction (OJ). The OJ, typically the local electrical inspector or building department, possesses the authority to interpret and enforce the electrical code within their jurisdiction. Consulting with the AHJ before commencing any electrical work near scuttle holes is crucial for understanding the specific interpretation of the Wisconsin Administrative Code exception and ensuring that the proposed installation aligns with their standards. In addition to seeking guidance from the AHJ, contractors can also adopt a conservative approach to wiring installations near scuttle holes. This involves maintaining the 30-inch clearance whenever feasible, even when the wiring is enclosed in a raceway. By prioritizing compliance with the NEC general requirement, contractors can minimize the likelihood of code violations and ensure a safer electrical installation. Furthermore, it is essential for contractors to ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified and licensed electricians who possess a thorough understanding of the NEC and local codes. Proper training and experience are paramount for safe and compliant electrical installations. Electricians should also be cognizant of the potential hazards associated with working in attics, such as limited space, inadequate lighting, and the presence of insulation or other materials that may pose health risks. Taking appropriate safety precautions, such as wearing protective gear and ensuring proper ventilation, is crucial for minimizing the risk of injury or illness. Ultimately, the overarching objective of electrical codes and regulations is to safeguard people and property from electrical hazards. By diligently understanding the code, seeking clarification from the AHJ, adopting a conservative approach to wiring installations, and ensuring that all work is performed by qualified professionals, contractors can contribute to creating safe, reliable, and compliant electrical systems. Remember that continuous education and staying abreast of the latest changes to the electrical code are essential for all electrical professionals. In addition to the NEC and the Wisconsin Administrative Code, local ordinances or regulations may impose additional requirements on electrical installations in your area. Always verify with your local building department or electrical inspector to ensure comprehensive compliance. When in doubt, prioritize safety and seek the counsel of qualified professionals.